What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and Humza Mania is upon us, running wild. Not the other weird bloke,
Nope.
but Humza Mania. Humza Khan is with us in studio, and I couldn't be more thrilled. Humza, what's going on, bro?
Bro, first of all, that I like the opening. I like the opening. It was quick to the point. I got to cut mine down too in the future, so I loved it. That was great. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here, talk to you, talk to the peoples that are out there and just, have a good time.
Yeah, bro. So, I mean, you have done so much, in a time of cons essentially ruling the wrestling, kind of landscape. You're in pretty high demand, and especially it's not just the fact that you are a proud Pakistani American. It's not that you're just involved in the wrestling business, but you are having success outside. You're a comedian in demand. You're flying in and out of everywhere. My goodness, but I kind of wanted to. Uh, I don't want to say ground you. I would never do such a thing.
Ooh.
But also, there was a block of time where I had you, and I just wanted to see how you're kind of not kind of, you are an inspirational guy. You're funny as hell, and you're involved with wrestling. So, I think we're besties at this point.
Consider it done. Sign the paperwork. I'm down. Let's go. Best
Yeah,
friends foreverist.
that's an Orange Cassidy for me.
I got you.
Yeah. And hey, brother, says Jamal Harris out of
Mr.
Extreme Couture.
Harris.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, how did you come to be? Because I know of your work, as short as it may have been with AfterBuzz, but again, that's how I know you. And so many great talents have come out of that
Hmm.
system and what have you. And we're kind of talking off air. The great Flobo Boys actually try to get me in and on the audition tape, and it just didn't work. And
That's usually how
every
it goes.
yeah, but also the whole thing kind of goes belly up, whatever. And again, I liken it to. I remember somebody who actually was a third generation Bakersfieldian, grew up in Bakersfield, and says of James Brown, he's like the hardest working man in show business. Says this is what it's come down to. I'm playing Bakersfield, and he takes a dirt nap. He takes a
that
dirt
that
nap, right? So
right.
when According to Woods comes to AfterBuzz, it's like, bye bye. I think I fucked it up for all of you, and I'm sorry.
Well, here's the thing. No, don't be sorry because the bottom line is no matter what your platform is and how big or small you're doing it, it's the passion you put into it that's gonna overall predict what the product's gonna do, right? If you have 5 fans that religiously watch your stuff every week and they love what you say and what you're doing and the guests you bring on and everything, man, those 5 fans are living for you, right? And to me, that's like the goal isn't to touch like, oh, let me be in front of millions. That's about me again, right? It's more of performance and all this stuff is more about what you can give. And people tend to forget that. Like the audience is there. They paid money for a show. They didn't pay money so you can do an ego boost of how many people are there. They paid money so you can entertain them. So always be proud of yourself, man, no matter how big or small, because that performance is performance and it's always fun.
No, absolutely. And Jamal Harris says my manager is from Pakistan. They are savages in the
Ooh, all day. And the
best
best,
sense. Yeah,
Mi-
because the
Mr.
savages
Jamal,
are.
No, Mr. Jamal Harris does not seem like he's a means anything other than good stuff. So I
Yes,
appreciate you,
absolutely.
man.
It's just I did a weird thing. It's Savage and then two gorillas. I was just like, no, I love you, Jamal. You're amazing.
Oh man,
I've had the pleasure of interviewing him quite a few times. That's a hashtag good brother, hashtag brother me softly. And yes, I spoke in hashtags.
oh nice millennials coming up. I like it, rubbing off on you.
I know. But hopefully, bestie, if I start tattooing my face and drop something on SoundCloud, please pull me fucking back. Or put a bullet in me.
I got you, Wood 6'9".
Yeah. Oh
All
no.
day.
Oh no. All love, brother. No. Absolutely. That's a too sweet for you. But I
Uh,
mean, were you born in Pakistan?
yeah, yeah. I was born in Pakistan. We moved to America in 1990. I was like 4 years old, really young. Grew up in the South, Texas first, followed by Florida. Yeah, my parents decided to make my life really hard, right? They're like, hey, if you don't eat bacon and you like to pray to Allah and not God, and your skin is not white, let's move you to the dirty South where everyone's accepting, right? So that's kind of how I grew up in this country is in the South, and it's been it's been quite a journey.
Are you familiar with Sagar Injeti?
No.
He's this. So I heard about him and Crystal Ball. They used to host a show on the Hill called
Mm-hmm.
The Rising, and now they kind of went rogue and just did independent stuff. And but like Crystal Ball, kind of Anglo gal, middle class, upper middle class maybe, ran for Congress in like West Virginia until it was found out that there was some college pictures that surfaced of her and an ex-husband maybe sucking off a phallus, a fake one. Yeah, and they're running for, like a seat, a political seat in West Virginia, and that didn't pop the theoretical Bible Belt. And
You have the most like useless information out there. I swear to
I
God,
know.
like you
See,
have so much useless information. It's not even funny.
I
Like
wish. I wish I
I'll
could be
never do
George.
anything with this.
I wish I could be like George Hermosa, where he could just like plop out like, "Oh, in 1997, the gate was this." He's Art
Right,
Meltzer, but like,
right.
no, it's just like, they say savant is something great, that people appreciate, like playing piano or figuring
Yeah.
out physics or whatever. And Asperger's is on the spectrum, but it's like collecting balls of
Hmm.
wax. I think I might be undiagnosed Asperger's. Shout out to Asperger's.
Got it. Hashtag Asperger's. Hashtag autism. Love and be yourself. See, I'm
Absolutely.
speaking of hashtags too now.
Yeah,
Got the
see,
rub.
it
Yeah.
did. I got the rub. No, but I mean, so I was speaking about the Sagar and Jetty, right?
Yeah.
So he was born in Texas, I don't know if he was born there or his parents came, what have you, but he's like super hard in the paint, conservative, but
Mm.
also takes the piss out of both parties, and the same thing with her. She's like liberal, progressive, or whatever, and they kind of fight the je ne sais quoi that you would see in 24-hour news cycles and go like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, conservatives and liberals and, Democrats and Republicans can't get along. I'm like, no, we can. It's just, for whatever reason, we kind of believe a narrative. But it,
That's
he
that's life
also,
now.
yeah, he also is a person of color that grew up in Texas.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. Let's say you're playing Call of Duty, right? And then they pick you up and they put you in Star Wars instead. And it's like, all right, I get it. You can shoot a gun, but what is that gonna do in space? That's kind of what it's like to be born in Pakistan and raised in Texas. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Skill
gosh.
sets don't match.
No, no, 100%. And I'm kind of there too. Like my mom's side of the family are from Fiji, and even
Hmm.
though I was born here, my sister was born here, my dad's African descendant slave, black, however what you want to identify it. Uh, you know, as somebody that grew up poor in the Midwest, like to marry somebody from Fiji, exotic and what have you, like he was just like, yeah, teach the kids Fijian and whatever. And my mom was like, fuck that because they just talk shit. Like yeah,
That's all they
and
do.
yeah, it's all like they believe in the Lord but also talk shit. Like so just
Sounds about
not
right.
yeah not do that. But in terms of like these people like the Second Amendment, guns and whatever, like in Fiji the only people that fucking carry around guns is the military, right?
Right.
Not even the police.
Right.
But it's a different type of justice.
Yeah.
It is guilty until proven innocent. So like when cops came to Fiji, right in the early 1990s, right, the show, there was a guy who stole a loaf of bread,
Mm.
and his high-speed chase was jumping on a beach cruiser and trying to go down an alley.
Shoom. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
in flip
That's
flops.
funny.
Yes.
That's funny.
So the thing about it, the guilty until proven innocent. So if you look, go ahead and tattoo your face and not be from a tribe, and not have a high rank or psychopaths, any of the je ne sais quois that you would think that whatever. If you
Hmm.
look, the spy versus spy, that wouldn't happen in Fiji
Right.
because what would happen is guys in nicely pressed shirts and like it's wraparounds, but they look like the hemming of the Flintstones, right? Kind
Right.
of jagged edge, and they're in flip flops, and they've got 3 pound wooden clubs, not hollow at all,
Mm-hmm.
and they beat the shit out of you for
That's
looking
it. That's
suspicious.
it. Yeah. That's it. They just make sure that you understand. That I mean, the thing is with the third world countries that people, we like to look down on them like, oh, they don't have this or they don't have that, and we don't realize is when you don't have a lot that you have to do, right? I don't have to pay for my 13 different Netflix subscriptions and internet and delivery services and rent and lights and cars and all that stuff. When there's not so much stress on you, there's less likely for you to commit crimes, right? Because life is kind
Yeah,
of easy. You
yeah,
got everything you need. You don't have to go out there and steal it from somebody
right.
or do something to make yourself feel better. So I think it comes on both ends. It's like, yeah, it's nice to have all these nice things, but crimes go up because now people that don't have those things that are next to you want them. They're gonna want to go take them, and that's just the way the world works. That's just the way all life form works, right? You have to destroy life to create life. It's just the way it is. So it's funny that you can make fun of the third world countries, but they might have something going on there.
Yeah, no, it's not to say it's a perfect harmony, but like I remember, I think one of my wife's family members was like, "Oh, let's go fishing." And
Hmm.
whatever, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, we'll get it done in a couple of hours or whatever. It's like, no, it's the whole day. We drink some beers on a boat,
Hang
and
out.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because theoretically, like, in some, especially like the village parts, but even in the city, like you fucking go out, right, and you thatch a basket out of palm tree, whatever, and that's your
Hmm.
basket, or you have one from a time before, right,
Right.
and you grab a mango from your neighbor's fucking mango or mangrove tree or whatever,
Oh,
and
I
just
love
know
mangoes.
they'll get you back or whatever, avocado, blah blah blah. Fill your basket, keep on going, da 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 da, and then you get like at the time before it got commercialized, the bamboo and or sugarcane fields, and you got like a machete and you carve out a spear, right, and then you continue, and then you get to the
How do
waterfront
you
where
you continue, continue,
yeah,
continue,
that's it, that's
right?
it.
Shimmy on over.
Yeah, it should be on over. It's a Sunday fucking comic strip in my mind, at least.
Hey, I love it. I love that. That sounds like so much like relaxation on a Sunday. I
Oh
love it.
yeah, and then you go to the water when it's low tide, right? And it's crystal clear, and you're like, the shit that they have in like those fancy smancy Wilshire whatever the fish like $300 a plate fish dishes. Well, that shit is right there, and all you have to do is get your little spear,
Ka-ching.
da
Yeah.
and then go back to the fucking like the fucking sand. Go ahead, start your fire,
Warm it
eat,
up, cook it. Let's go.
and that's it. And that might the whole thing from the time you leave your fucking door to the
Right.
time you're basically eating and full, maybe an hour, and that's on island time too.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
That's the simple life, man. Like that's the thing. It's weird. The older I get, the more of the simple life I want, you know. And yes, there's a lot of things that we're doing that's a lot of fun, like a lot of performances and stuff coming up. But when it comes to just everyday life, I would rather just live on a boat and just relax and enjoy my the fish around me, eat that, and just be left alone. That'd be great. That'd be great.
so I think that's your financial advice, or AMC or Shiba Inu going to the moon, and then you buy a fucking boat and just come
Done.
sail away with me.
Done. Hopefully in the next 5 years I can make it happen.
I say too, because you're a talented sword.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. But I mean,
Nice.
how did you kind of get in the world? I mean, you're doing obviously the AfterBuzz stuff. You're doing
Yeah.
amazing work with Knox Pro, FSW, and what have you. But like, how did it kind of come to you? You're like a 4 year old kid. You're kind of displaced in Texas. I mean, compared to Pakistan, it's the best of times, but also the worst of
Of
times,
course,
right?
right, correct, correct. I mean,
So, go.
it's if one I've loved wrestling for a long time. That's been one thing. No matter what, I've always loved wrestling since I was a kid. It was one of my favorite American things that I've done. Right, I loved it, loved it, loved it. Always have. I recently started doing not recently, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I started doing stand up, and it started going really well naturally. It was just kind of coming to me. I was having a lot of fun. Started getting booked on different things. Started getting different festivals coming up, like the Palm Springs International Festival, the NBC Diversity Festival, CBS, different ones like that. And I realized that as I went out to do these shows and performances, I would do one thing that I would try to get in the zone and put music on and get myself amped up as if I was gonna walk through gorilla position in a wrestling show, right? And I kept saying that to myself, like I'm not going out there to wrestle. I'm going out there to do stand up, but I would like to prepare that way, like because that's what I looked up to. I looked up to those guys. They were larger than life. One day, I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was in 2019, early. I decided that I wanted to just see. I really wanted to know what a wrestling ring felt like. I really wanted to know. I'm like, they say it hurts. It doesn't look like it hurts, but I want to see it for myself if it hurts. So I hit up Nox Pro, which happened to be Rikishi and Reno Anuai's school, where the Samoan Dynasty trains, and they were like, they reached out to me and they said, "Oh, we're currently not doing any new students. We'll circle back to you in a few months." Blah blah blah. And long story short, I really thought they looked at my picture or something and said, "Ah, not that guy," right? Like that's kind of how it was. That's what I felt. Moving forward, I actually then started working at his job at a startup. One of the girls there, Taylor, she did AfterBuzz hosting. And I told her how I wanted to get into it, and so she got me in, and I started going through the rounds, like did the orientation, the sitting there, the 7.5 business days of just learning stuff, doing the
Mm.
auditions, and same as you, they came back to me and said, "Nah, you didn't make it. Sorry, try again in 6 months." Right? So here I am, like, all right, I suck at everything. Let me go back to my 9 to 5 job. And then in August, like 3 4 months later, Reno Anuai hits me up and he's like, uh, "Hey, we opened up more space. We have a bigger domain now. We're bringing in new students. Did you still want to come check it out?" I said, "Hell yeah!" I'm like, "Absolutely." So I went down on a Sunday, and when I got there, it was two like wrestlers I had no idea who it was. Rikishi was there, and then Miro, who was Rusev at the time, was there. And I was like, "Oh, this is insane!" So I just got there. They were really nice, very welcoming. We spoke. They had me do roles and stuff, and then afterwards, I was like, "I really like this. Like, I want to join." So I ended up just joining the school. Like, let's go, right? Joined the school, and then got started. And here's the kicker, right? 2 weeks later, I'm at a training session, and Reno says to me, he goes, "Hey, if I give you the keys, do you mind locking up afterwards? Because I have guests coming that need to use the facility. Once they're done, can you just lock it up and go home?" Absolutely. He goes, "Please don't." He knew that I was a kind of respectful guy, so he goes, "Don't talk to them, don't say nothing, just stand there. If they need something, help out, and then go home." Long story short, in walks fucking X Pac, Sonya Deville, and Maria Menounos of AfterBuzz, right? Out of nowhere. And these guys walk in. I'm like, oh snap! So first of all, X Pac came early, and it was just me and him. We're waiting on the girls. The ladies are taking forever to get there. So he asked me, he's like, "Are you training?" I said, "I just started." Very green. He goes, "Okay." And then he gets up. He goes, "Stand up." So I got up. He goes, "Lock up." Let's go. We started doing arm work and stuff. It was just so much fun. And then the ladies came in. So we then were basically helping Maria Menounos get ready for a guest referee spot for SmackDown. And so we started doing that. Basically, all that happened was Sonya Deville kicked my ass in the ring. She counted 1 2 3. We were showing her rope breaks and all that good stuff, right? So after that happened, it was like 2 hours of work. Then I said to Maria, like, she's like, "Thank you very much," all that. And I said, "Believe it or not, I actually auditioned for AfterBuzz. I was told no, but I was tried out for it." And she goes, "Wow, okay, you looked familiar. So, da da da. What's your name again?" "All right, my assistant Roxy will be reaching out to you." And then I got a text right then and there from Roxy. "Hey, Hamza, can you come on in for our orientation? We're going to be doing this day, da, da. So then I started doing Nox Pro and I started doing Afterbirth kind of at the same time. That's a long story.
No, that's what fucking podcasts are for.
That's
Because,
true.
yeah, it's because especially with all the positivity and everything that you put on social media, people are like, "Who is this guy?" Or they'll see your work that you've done and go like, "How?" Because they're looking for the how, just like you were, in between when the AfterBuzz had told you no and all this
Yeah.
stuff. So thank you for sharing that, because like
Yeah.
that's the crucial part. Like that's the that might be somebody's missing piece of the puzzle of the
Right.
entire puzzle kind of scenario.
Right. Actually, the biggest, if you ever want to know how, the biggest way you can say it is there's two things: confidence and ask. That's it. That's literally all you have to do. Almost everything I've done, I've just asked, "Can I do that with you? Do you mind?" "Hey, I went to Rikishi. Hey, I was really thinking you should do a podcast. I think it'd be fun for us to do one together." And he goes, "No, no." "All right, show me what it would look like," right? Then I created all this. I created his opening video, his graphics for him, his emails and stuff, reached out to his guests. And just like that, he started enjoying it. So to me, it's confidence and asking. And it's even something along the lines of, said this to one of the other guys. FSW was having their anniversary shows. There was a line out the door and everything. We weren't performing on it. So he goes, we get there, and he's like, "Oh, are they gonna let us in?" I said, "They're not gonna let us in. I'm walking in." So I walked around everybody. I said, "What's up, guys?" to security, and I walked right in. They go, "Hey, excuse me." I'm like, "Oh, I'm here with talent." "Oh, okay, go ahead." That's it. And because I spoke confidently, like I belong here. What are you talking about, right? And they didn't question it, didn't ask it. They said, "Go ahead and go in." So to me, it's confidence is just asking, and the worst they're gonna do is tell you no.
No, 100%. I mean, and again, for where you are, and I guess to a lesser degree where I am, right? I mean,
You gotta
how
stop
many?
saying that. Stop.
I
Pause.
appreciate it. I
Pause.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Pause.
good.
You gotta stop saying that. Stop
Cool,
saying
cool.
that. Don't lessen yourself. That's not cool.
Yeah. So basically, people will see it and go like, "Oh, oh, you might have had somebody or whatever give you the shine or what have you." But a lot of times you're essentially paying to get in, or might have
Yeah.
been snuck in by a talent or an
Yes.
official or what have you. But that could be the catalyst to kind of set you off into the next phase of your career.
Yeah. There was one sentence that changed my networking abilities, and it said, networking is all about giving, right? So you start off by giving them something. I know what Rikishi's value is, right? I know what Jay-Z's value is, you know? But, and so I'm not going to go to them and say, "Can I get this from you?" Why? Why would they help me? For what? What is it going to benefit them? Why did they work their butts off to get to this point just to hand me, some random guy, something because I asked? So I always like to approach in a way of, what can I do for you? Can I help you with something? Right? And if you go back, and even Rikishi will tell you, though, every time I showed up to that domain, I came in 30 minutes to an hour early. I went around, I sweep the entire place and the ring. I replaced the toilet paper. Cleaned the sink, and I said, "Okay, we're clean and ready to go." To one day, he said to me, "Humza, I'm thinking about closing down training an hour early. I want this entire place clean from the top to bottom. Here's the thing. I don't want you touching any cleaning supplies or anything. I don't want you cleaning at all." So, in sense, he said, "Go ahead and get people to do it." So I grabbed you, come with me. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and we basically cleaned the entire place because we don't have a crew that comes in and does it. This
Right.
is wrestling. In wrestling, we do everything. We build the rings, we take down the rings. This is all
Yeah.
part of it. And then he got to a point where he saw that, and I gave them the I wanted to clean this for you, and in return, he saw that I was able to lead individuals, right? And that helped me get into the office of them with them, to where I was able to create shows and podcasts and the weekly shows we do and the live shows that we're doing now.
I think that's a phenomenal story, and especially you might not know what you're capable of until you're kind of forced into,
Into it.
or yeah, absolutely. But and they also don't know, right? Like they might
Right.
have a diamond in the rough, so to speak,
Right.
but they don't know what pressure you need to get that diamond from the lump of coal.
Correct. Correct. I mean, you would think that someone like Kurt Angle, that came from the Olympics, right? And in the Olympics, it's very competitive. You have to win to win. It's not like wrestling where it's a work. So with Olympics, you think he'd come in and be like, this is not what we do. And MMA would be the same thing. They have the same mentality, like, "Oh,
Right.
whatever," right?
Right.
And what he did instead was he embraced it, and he started doing these things where he never trained for this, man. But he started surprising himself with what he can do: comedy, acting, being able to deliver. The fans are behind him. The fans are booing him, and
Hmm.
that's a great example of somebody that you don't know what you don't know until you try it.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to, I think, to follow it, is just try it first. And if you fail, you fail, but it's at least you tried.
100%. And it's funny with the Sonya Deville. Like I just missed her because like one of my good friends, Ian Harris, who's also a comedian but also coach of Fight Science MMA. They just
Hmm.
got Eric Ghost Pepper Gonzalez signed to the UFC, fighting next weekend. But also Daria, Sonya
Yeah.
Deville, right? She was basically his pupil and
Hmm.
fought U of MMA here in downtown LA, and look at where she's at now. And
Right.
but I got into it like I think 3 months too late. I think so. I was actually at the last MMA show that Shayna Baszler. She was just there with Barnett, right?
Right.
Because she was training under Josh Barnett, and that was I think that week she got signed to PC. So it
Mm,
was like the last whatever. But
nice.
so like uh, up until very recently, it's just like been on the cusp, and then just kind of switching over. So
It's
yeah,
irrelevant anyways, though, right? It
yeah,
really is irrelevant if you think about it. Because if I'm working for, let's say, for Walmart, and I want to raise, I'm not gonna go to my coworker who's next to me and ask them for a raise, right? I would go to who? My boss.
Mhm.
So me hanging out with Sonya is not gonna do nothing for me because she can't sign me to WBE, nor
Right.
can she get me on AfterBuzz, right? She could be a really cool friend, and maybe she can help me, give me some insight, maybe. But
Maybe.
bottom line is, in order for me to get in somewhere and make a connection, I
Mhm.
got to go for the bosses, the managers, the promoters, the bookers, not the talent, because the talent is just a friendship. Is all at the end of the day.
No, 1,000%, 1,000%. But here you are, and you're kind of factored in to again the Samoan dynasty. Like it is synonymous with wrestling. I mean, that one of the pros and cons of Roman Reigns, right? I love the fact that he's not the typical savage or
Hmm.
person from the hood, right? But also he's a SWAT guy with a SWAT vest that sells punches to the stomach, and it's just like
Yeah.
ideologically for me it doesn't make sense. And if you dig him,
Correct.
awesome, right?
Right. Right.
So you are somebody that watched Rikishi, and a lot of the Anawahi family kind of come up. So how is it kind of being in the, pardon the pun, inner circle?
It's a little insane, to be honest. It is, because the thing about Rikishi is it's very soon. He's very easygoing, and he loves to love, right? And he if he likes you, the first thing he says is, call me your dad. I'm your wrestling dad. I'm your pops. Anywhere you go, I'm your pops. I'll go anywhere and I'll see Sefa, for example, his son. And his son will be like, come here, sit with us, right? All of his TK, all of his uncles and everybody, they're just very welcoming. The thing about the Samoan dynasty is that these guys are all very loving and giving individuals, but only to people in their circle.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means that they have to trust you to get in there. And
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many people trying to get in there and they always have an ulterior motive, it's hard for them to trust. But once they trust you, it's always going to be there. So it's really cool to just be involved, to know that, oh God, I'm sitting here with this guy who has two sons, a third son now, and his nephew in on the show, and his daughter-in-law Naomi, right? Like,
Right.
she retweeted. Naomi shared our show, my show that we're putting on her story, and I never met her before. I don't even know her. She doesn't even know about me. But it's cool to know that these guys are all like willing to help each other out, and just because I'm
Mm-hmm.
cool with him, they're cool with me.
No, 100%. Talk about Sefa, a really cool story. So the first time I met Sefa, I was picking my wife up from Whole Foods where she worked in Glendale, right? Glendale,
Right.
California. And essentially, I see this guy and I see the tattoos like down his
Yep.
shoulder, right? He's stocking groceries. And I was like, and I have this kind of deal, right? Because you don't ask, you know, yeah, Tongan, Samoan, especially if you don't know the difference. I've actually confused some Puerto Ricans and Dominicans
Yeah.
for, for islanders, right? So
Yep.
I'm like, hey, what island are you from, right? And he goes, Samoa, and I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I'm from Fiji, and he's like, Bula, and I'm like, Bula, right? Because
Yeah.
there aren't too many of us out here. I mean,
Right.
so basically, he goes, no, what do you do? And I was like, I'm an interviewer in like for MMA and
Right.
sometimes pro wrestling. And he's like, do you know Rikishi? And I was like, of course I know Rikishi. Not know him, but like,
Yeah. Of him,
he's the
right?
guy.
You're familiar with him.
Right. And he's like, that's my dad. And I was like, huh? And then I start to look at his face and I was like, oh, he
Yep.
looks like Jimmy and Jay.
There you go.
Yeah.
He does
And
look exactly like them, right?
yes, absolutely. And then he goes like, that's my dad and Jimmy and Jay or Jonathan. I don't want to kayfabe, but like that's my older brothers, and I was
Yeah.
like, word, right? And from then after, like people would be like not messing with my wife, but might gossip or whatever, and he would quash it and like,
Yeah.
yes, this, like whatever.
He's cool
Right?
people, man.
Yeah,
He looks
no,
out for everybody.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And then he, my wife, like she's like, he quit. And I was like, what? It's like, he quit. He's like, I'm moving to Vegas and what have you.
Right.
And ended up with the FSW and
Yep.
touring. I mean, and for any indie talent that might, especially SoCal indie talent, that might be listening to this and wanting to get to AEW or WWE, look at Sefa, look at Brody King, look at
Yeah.
Tyler Bateman. These guys and gals, Heather Monroe, right? When they start going, they might be big as all hell here in the SoCal indie scene and make a good living selling their merch and what have
Hmm.
you. But that's just here.
Right.
Go get booked in Arizona. Go get booked in
It's
Florida. Pay,
different.
right, exactly. And then that's when the eyes of the beholder starts to
Yeah.
kind of behold you.
Yeah. It's and to be honest, just to quickly shout out FSW, by the way, Future Stars of Wrestling. Karrion Cross came out of there. Chris Bay's come
Yes.
out of there. These guys, if you guys are if anyone's in Vegas and wants to do wrestling, FSW is one of the best ones to check out in my opinion because they can, one, I can tell they care about their students. They got different people coming in left and right to do seminars and trainings and things like that. EC3 was there, TJP was there, and I know that they and D'Lo Brown comes to do commentary all the time. And then not only that, but they put up these different avenues for like similar to how Nox Pro does for having weekly shows, weekly stream shows, weekly live or monthly live shows, and then they have podcasts and different things like that that they do to promote you, help you get out there. And one thing you don't realize is, yeah, wrestling is great. Learning how to do headlock takeovers and suplexes and all that's wonderful. If you don't know how to work a camera or know where the cameras are, because when you're physically there, it's very different. That's a detriment to your performance. So people like if you are going to look for a wrestling school, just look for one that gives you everything. They can teach you how to do commentary, teach you how to referee. They need to know the ins and outs of the ring, how to set up the ring when you get there. Like all that's encompassing of being a wrestler.
No, 100%. And even outside opportunities, come your way, right?
Oh yeah.
If you haven't seen an FSW show or a Knox Pro show, you've seen the ring, right? I remember Rob Van Dam's music video for the TNA theme, and it's
Yeah.
like a young Rusev or Miro, right?
Yep.
The FSW has been in a litany of commercials and all that stuff, movies even,
Hmm.
that have been filmed there because they're the ring in Vegas and
Right.
that's where they're shooting and what have you. Same thing with Knox Pro,
Yeah.
kind of
Actually,
century.
believe it or not, Knox, speaking of that, yes, that happens a lot with us because we have a lot of different companies that reach out to us. Just recently, our trainer Reno, he was in touch with CBS, I think it was, and they did, Henry Danger, that's on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Henry Danger, they were doing a wrestling scene, so they wanted a wrestling ring. So what he did was he got four of our wrestlers to go out there. They set up the ring for them to be able to film at CBS Studios, and then they asked all four wrestlers to be in the show. They got paid for it, all that stuff. So these doors open up, man. The wrestlers are not just athletic, but they're also actors and they're also stuntmen, and there's a lot you can do with the wrestlers. So that there's a lot of opportunities out there, but you got to get out there.
Yeah, so I mean, how do you? And that is absolutely true. Hell, I remember kind of growing up in LA, and we had a 3-hour block of wrestling, and
Yeah.
it was UPW, XPW, and ECW, right? And UPW of that time, right, under Rick Brassman and what have you. You had Edge and Christian coming in, but you also had guys like Kazarian and you know. Bad Blood and rest in peace, Ryan Sakota, and Samoa Joe and John Cena.
Hmm.
Yeah,
The
those
prototype.
absolutely with the he almost looked like Horseshoe, right? Without
he,
it's like a blonde flat
he
top.
he reminded me of Small Soldiers. Remember the movie Small Soldiers?
Yes,
That's what he looked like. That guy from Small
yes,
Soldiers with that little chop. Ah,
yes.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, but I mean, those guys. I remember. I think there was and it played even after Cena left. But there was like a mattress commercial, and it's like
Yeah.
Cena, Samoa Joe, and I want to say Favi Chulo. Yes, like all in the same thing, and I was just like,
Silly.
ah, that's fun.
Yeah, man. It's and that's the thing. That's the one thing I would preach to a lot of my colleagues when we were coming up. And I'm so happy because a lot of them stuck around with me. A lot of them, like when I first started to now, there's probably like two people still there from when I first started, right? Like everyone else quit, went about their ways. This wasn't for them, which is absolutely fine. Wrestling is very, very tough, man. And the thing is, now at this point, now that I've even been in the ring, I can't even make fun of somebody for messing up or botching a move, like they say, because of how difficult it is to do this, right? And it's draining on your body. Every aspect of it hurts. And the thing is, it's one of those things where like the connections you make at the beginning are who you're going to see later on, and that's why it's smart to come up and make sure you're aligned with good people because down the line you're going to have these same matches again. And if you have these matches in your mind and you know you work well with somebody, that person is going to elevate you and vice versa. So whoever we're with now, in 5 years, we're gonna be probably wrestling on bigger platforms
Right.
at that moment, you know. So I don't know. It just it keep your make sure you have a good circle around you too. Like that's very important. And a good circle doesn't necessarily mean someone that's doing better than you that can get you somewhere. And it also doesn't mean just making friends with anybody. It really means who's gonna fill in the gaps for what you have going on to elevate you to be the better version of you.
No, 100%. It's funny because I had it kind of told to me, right? Where, um, a reason why a particular person gets to where they are is because of the circle around him. Whether you
Hmm.
talk pro wrestling and the Goldust Trio and everybody getting to Ed Strangler Lewis, you have the
Right.
policeman and what have you, and you had to go through the three of them to get to Lewis, right?
Right.
And
Right.
they were old school shooters. Or, in present day, we've got the Howard Sterns, right? And Howard Stern has Robin and all of that cast of characters.
Hmm.
Joe Rogan has Eddie Bravo, Brendan
Right.
Schaub,
Right.
Joey Diaz, and what have you. Everybody has their circle that kind of elevate each other, and
Hmm.
whether obviously different dynamics because people are different and what have you.
Right.
Some, maybe are attaching themselves to a Rogan or what have you, but once they're there, they have the skills to pay the bills, right?
Right.
And Rogan's just like, yeah, hey, this is a buffet. You don't have to grab another plate. Like,
Right.
just eat off of mine, right?
Right.
And that's the thing, or somebody like Howard Stern who literally perpetually butted heads with
Yeah.
every authority figure to make sure that his group stayed
Was
together.
always right. Correct. Correct.
And when it was time to cash in, and it's
Yeah.
still happening to this day, he makes sure everyone
It
cashes in.
it's funny you say that because when I started producing the shows, the weekly Twitch shows we do, Powerbomb Tuesdays, it's at the very beginning of it. 'Cause I'm not the booker, right? So one thing is you got to stay in your category what you're working on. I would push a lot for my friends to get booked on there, and they would get upset at times, like you're not the booker, stop asking, da da. And I even got heat a couple of times because of it, but I kept pushing for my friends to get on there. And here's the kicker: out of the where's my fingers, four different friends that I got on there, only two of them actually did well. The other two kind of let me down and made me look bad. So it's one of those things where, like, yes, you got to put your neck on the line for your friends and your others to bring up, but if someone does and you get the opportunity to be on there, you better make sure you kill it too, right? You can't drop the ball and
Yeah.
and make me look bad because of that, because then they'll never trust me again.
Yeah. Well, and that's me. I tried not to call in favors, and like,
Hmm.
if somebody, but that's kind of a kind of a paradox of what you're saying is it's like ask, 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 right? But I'd rather maintain the friendship and not shit go sideways than
What's
you
the
know
point of a friendship?
uh, burgers and drinking.
Gotcha. You can't do that with your wife.
No, she likes frilly things. Maybe a
That's fine.
mimosa.
I gotcha. So she can have a mimosa and a salad while you have a burger and drinks, right?
Yeah,
Like
ten
at the end of
minutes.
the day, I'm not saying to use your friends. It's never that.
Right,
But
right.
what I'm saying is, if you're not able to ask your friend to help you progress in life, then that's not really a friend either, right? That's just somebody that's gonna help you instill bad habits, which is burgers and drinking. So it's really just, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just about what your career path is. What I'm trying to say is that who I'm
Right.
speaking to are those that are trying to become in the industry, right? Trying to do, whether it's entertainment or wrestling or any other sports or anything that's out there that's like huge competition. If it's a lot of competition, it's hard to get into. The bottom line is your discipline needs to be high and your circle needs to be a strong circle. And you can't do that by going out drinking and stuff all the time, you know? So that's kind of what I mean by that. If you're just everyday peoples and you want to work 9 to 5s and you want to go out for drinks afterwards, man, enjoy your life, do your thing. But if you can't ask your friend for help, then what's the point of having that friend?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's a different ideology. Like, but obviously, it's proved well to you. Which you mentioned the entertainment versus the pro wrestling deal, right? So people that might not be familiar with either genre or what you do otherwise, like, what do you tell them? Like, if you're comic friends or whatever, do you tell them I'm in the entertainment or sports entertainment business, or do you say I'm in pro wrestling?
No, I always speak on the fact that I'm an entertainer. I'm always an entertainer and performer. I'll be honest, I'm not a pro wrestler. I'm not. I'm not a pro wrestler. These guys are amazing athletes. They're phenomenal at what they do. They can do it 200 to 300 times a year, days a year. I can barely do it 2 to 3 times a month, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's fun. I can pull it off. I can do a lot of great things. But to me, I'm more of a performer. I like to tell a story. I'm there to do a little bit of acting, to kind of move the categories along. Where some people are there to do the moves and make sure they put on a good show when it comes to that. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm a performer. And wrestling is an aspect of art of both. It's performance and athletics that kind of come together and mesh. So you work to your strong points. I am athletic, but I'm more of a performer than I am athletic, right? So if you put me and Ricochet next to each other, right? Ricochet's got the athleticism,
Right.
all the makings of a wrestler. His personality and maybe his characteristics and maybe his entertainment value as a
Right.
someone on the mic or something, not so
Yeah.
much. Vice versa, me, I got the mouthpiece. I can talk for days. I can make jokes. I can entertain. I can tell a story. But can I do a 6:30? Probably not. So it's just about making sure you utilize your strong points to add to the overall production. It's not about you. Wrestling's always about the match and the overall show.
No, 1,000%. But as in terms of the venue in which you perform, theoretically speaking, are you using your performing acumen to pro wrestling or sports entertainment, like
Ah,
philosophically?
philosophically, sports entertainment.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
and
good.
then a lot of people can hate me out there too because I'm a big WWE guy. Like that's my number one company. It always will be. As many times as they've let me down with certain things, I always enjoy WWE. And it's also because I like the business aspect of everything too, right? Business and production is another thing I'm big on. So anything I'm working on, like whether it's stand up or podcasting or wrestling, I like to be involved in the back end too. I like to know how can we make this better? Can we get a different graphic? Can I make an opening video for you guys? What can we do to make this production overall good? And to me, WWE has a good production value, which I always enjoy and I respect, and they have good business acumen too, in my opinion. So to me, sports entertainment is more of where I am, but I understand the respect and the need for pro wrestlers to be pro wrestlers and why they do it.
Hmm.
And I have nothing negative to say about that. To me, it's so much respect for these guys and girls, especially these women too, killing it out there. That it's like, they just thank you for letting me be a part. All I can say is thank you for letting me be a part of this, because who knows? They could have told me no and go home for all I know.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, kind of in a dog eat dog. If you're coming in on your worst day and just have a bad day or whatever, there's like 80 people just in your town, but also like eons more that would love to be in your situation. And
Right.
sometimes some of them will shit the bed. We see it in American Idol. First season of American Idol, Kelly Clarkson hit, and we see archetypes of everyone doing Kelly Clarkson.
Yep.
What is it? Rogan tells about the story of when Bill Hicks hit really big in the early 90s and whatever. And people, like other comments in the stalls, would be like, stop doing Hicks! Like, literally,
That's it. Yeah.
right? But that's the thing. Like, sometimes it works out, right? But then sometimes when you become like a caricature of something and not your true self, and
Correct.
like there's some people that can, like for me, I think right now Corey Graves, right, is as close to Bobby Heenan as this generation is going to get,
Mm-hmm.
right? I
That's
mean,
right now, right?
obviously, and Heyman is Heyman. Percy would, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
Percy, Paul Bear was him. Cornette, like that's like the top five, and then Sherry, like right there. But they will all tell you that Bobby is the best,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Graves, to me, in terms of his commentary, I have fun, like
Yeah.
listening to his commentary because he reminds me of Heenan and like
Right.
that dastardly, like if
Yeah.
we could just give him some truth serum, he'll he'll,
Yeah.
he'll put over the baby faces rather than the heels, but he's kind of got the grips of the devil and whatever. Let's get the devil out of him. And
Right.
also now with AEW, right? Of you know the roar of the crowd, the roar of the crowd. Like I was lucky enough to see the opposite end of it of UFC 209 with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Tyron
Mm-hmm.
Woodley. I have never heard more boos and the chorus of boos than
Yep.
that main event fight. It was garbage. Happened to be there in T-Mobile Arena, where they just had the Fury Wilder fight,
Yeah.
and I've never heard even that. The boos weren't as
Come
loud,
out.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
But here we go in terms of like getting over and what have you. Like Corey Graves is like, to
Mm-hmm.
me, he's going to be one of the all-time greats of if he continues in this trajectory. And I
Right.
think, there's places with you. I mean, I kind of advert the fact that they just. I think it was a total missed opportunity for
We,
somebody that, yeah, for
we
somebody that.
spoke. Me and Rikishi spoke about that
Okay,
when that
yeah,
happened. Yeah.
exactly, and or even like we have Heyman as the creative control of one brand, and then we've got Eric Bischoff, and everybody's
Yeah.
like whatever, and it just kind of fizzles, and Heyman's
Mhm.
still there, and what have you, but it's just like ah,
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's you got to make yourself valuable, and that's the one thing Corey Graves has done, right? Because he originally was a wrestler,
yes,
and he used to wrestle. He used to do the shows and everything with everyone. I think it was an injury or something that put him on
oh
commentary.
concussions, yeah,
Yeah, and it's like, and then when I first my first appearance on a wrestling show, I was a commentator, and I was surprisingly good at it to where they started putting me on commentary for everything. Then I wanted to be a manager, and I was like, no, I want to do a character work. So then I became a manager for Toa Leona, my wrestler right now. And it's one of those things where I've done the production aspect, the commentary. I know how to referee. I do that as well. I know how to wrestle, and I know how to do manager stuff. I also know how to put together a ring. I know how to put up a cage. What else? What else? I can also do production. I can do video packages. So really, WWE at this point, where do you guys want me? Like that's where I'm at. Where do you guys want me? What do you guys want me to do right now? And it's one of those things where I make myself so valuable in different areas that they can utilize me in one sense or the other. And I also got to be realistic with myself. I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7". I'm also 34 years old. And there's just a chances are I'm probably not going to get hired on as a wrestler in WWE. In AEW, maybe. TNA, Impact. I mean, not TNA, but Impact, ROH. Yes, maybe. But at the end of the day, my biggest chance of being in this industry and being able to contribute to it like I want to a little bit is to make my umbrella as open as possible and say yes to anything. And I think that's what gets me very far in these different businesses is they ask me, "Can you do this?" I say yes, and I figure it out.
that's I think it's brilliant. And you mentioned like the WWE. Is that the end goal? Because we have seen, especially like in regards to AfterBuzz alumnus, right? We
Yeah.
got aforementioned Sonya Deville,
Hmm.
Johnny LaCosto, Alyssa Marino. Forgive me for forgetting quite a few, but
Evan Mack. Evan Mack.
Evan T. Mack, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. He's still doing stuff here. Basically doing a podcast with our friends and fellow
Hmm.
alumnus of AfterBuzz, Jack Farmer and Flobo Boyce, right? So there are people that have gone there. So is
Yeah.
that your optics?
So the best way for me to explain this, because people ask me these questions all the time, especially my family members, it's this. I do so ever since I was like 21. I moved to LA when I was 22 by myself. But ever since I was 21, I started living by three P's in my life. Paycheck, make sure I'm earning a income continuously and evenly throughout the months. Passion is making sure I would do one thing that I'm very passionate about, whether it pays me or not. And then physical would be to make sure I'm working out, staying active, staying athletic, right? And those three things, the passion aspect comes into where AfterBuzz is, stand up is, and wrestling is. At the end of the day, if I get $0 out of all of this, which is not the case as of right now, but I'm just saying if I do, I'm okay with it. I just want to do it to say I've done it. And with WWE, it would be just one thing to say, just to get one paycheck from there would make me happy. And it's not because it's the overall goal, because I feel like the way I am with different businesses and stuff, I'm good at making money, and I don't need WWE to make money, right? I can actually make more money outside of WWE than I could
Mm.
at WWE. My thing is, I just want to have that thing of, man, you guys have been consistently the one thing in my life since I was like 8 years old, and I love everything about it, and I just want to contribute something, one little thing towards it to say I was part of that before I'm done with everything out there, right? So at the end of the day, it's like a lot of people say that don't just be happy to be there, man. I'll just be happy to be there. I just want to be there. I want to be involved. I want to say I did it, and then I'll move on.
I like it. I like it. I mean, the late great Patrice O'Neill, as well as Freddie Prinze Jr. can say they did it, and also
Yeah,
that comedy writer that was like, oh, Bobby Ashley,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. And then he got fired, or she got fired. Was it
yeah,
she?
yeah,
She got fired or something
she
like
got
that. Yeah,
fired.
that was
Uh,
funny to me.
yeah, I mean, she podcast drops Saturday, and she gets featured endeavored by Monday. So
That's hilarious.
yes, absolutely.
That's
I
the
mean,
thing, man. If you're gonna go on there, just do a little research. Like they should start hiring fans more. Like fans will do
yeah,
a better job.
yeah, but I mean, I at least from my, I've never been there. Well, so that's kind of the current day deal. Like it's far removed from where I personally dug them, right?
Hmm.
So with that all being said, and got friends there,
Right.
so like, hell yes, do your thing, whatever, AEW, New Japan, what have you, right? But the fact of the matter is that's not the goal, right?
Right.
But um, in terms of like, I don't know. It's just they're just weird, and I can't believe they're the same like company that gave us like the Heenans, the Macho Man Randy Savage, the Mean Gene Okerlunds, and what
Right.
have you. But like, take me back to 8-year-old Humza, where you finally discover like pro
Oh,
wrestling,
that's actually a good
right?
story.
Yes. So how
Yeah.
does this happen?
So that's a good story. Real quick, just in their defense, keep in mind when you have a bigger blanket of audience to cover, chances are you won't be able to hit everybody, and therefore you need to do things that are not typical of wrestling to encompass every audience member out there, right? So you got to keep that in mind in the product. They're not just focusing on one demographic; they're focusing on every demographic. But to cut long story short, basically, back when I first we were in America, we only hung out with other Pakistani people. Like we never, my parents didn't want me to make American friends. They want to stay with our culture. So in the area we lived, there was like 5 or 6 Pakistani families in the subdivision, and I would just go and hang out with them and all that good stuff. One day I was hanging out with one of my friends, and I was leaving his house, and as I'm riding my bike back, a lady was next door. She was outside. She was wearing Pakistani garments, obviously a Pakistani lady, and she says, "Hey, can you come here for a sec?" And I rode over to her, and she goes, "I see you playing with these kids outside, and I was just wondering if you can make friends with my son. He has a hard time making friends." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I don't care. Like that's absolutely fine." And she goes, "Let me call." She goes, "I already called your mom. She knows you're here. If you want to come in." She called my mom. My mom's like, "Yeah, you can stay there for a few hours and then come home." So I stayed there for dinner. I walked in and she introduced me to her son. And right off the bat, you already knew something was up with her son. Like he was some kind of special needs kid, right? Something to this day, I still don't know what was actually not wrong with him, but how can I word this? Whatever his condition was, there you
Right.
go.
Exactly.
I didn't know what his condition was. But when I walked in, I saw him. I was like, "All right." In my mind, Hamza. I'm very inclusive of everybody. I like to like I said on the show the other day. I like to make sure everyone feels included and welcome because I know what it's like to not feel included and welcome.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, don't be rude or say like this or that. Just sit there and talk to him and see what happens. So we start talking. He's kind of has an attitude. He's like, hey, like that, right? Like not wanting to talk to me. And then I look over and he has this Nintendo 64 video game collection through the roof. I'm like, oh man, you want to play games? So we start playing video games. Around 8 p.m., he goes, I'm going to watch wrestling. Never heard of it before. And I was like, okay. Puts it on and it's Stone Cold comes out and he stunners his boss. And I'm like, wait, what? You can't do that to your boss. Like, my dad would get fired for that. Saw X Pac, and I was like, oh my God, he's such a good, like, how do you do that kick? Like, it was crazy. And I was like, this is insane. So then the next day, no, a couple of days later, I went home, and a couple of days later, his dad called me and was like, hey, he's wondering if you want to come back and hang out again. Hung out a second time. The third time, dad's like, hey, I got tickets to Monday Night Raw. Do you want to go? Yes, let's go. And we started going, and I started becoming obsessed. And then 10, 11-year-old Hamza decided to open his backyard wrestling promotion. And then it just went from there, man. It just blossomed into a wrestling roller coaster for me.
No, I mean, if I were to make some kind of bullet points, like
Yeah,
help out folks with, maybe conditions or maybe not, because you go down a fabulous wormhole and labyrinth of
never know.
what ends up becoming your career.
It's crazy because you have this weird connotation of what these individuals are that have
You're right,
different disabilities. And I was 8, so keep in mind what I'm saying now is a smarter version of what that
of
dummy
course.
kid was, right? It's just like any 8-year-old. I would prejudge people based on looks and appearances, and that was my first time realizing that, geez, just being nice to everybody was great. In fact, I actually did it with this girl at school once too that everyone just did not like for whatever reason. So I was like, I don't like you either then, But then I'm like, why am I being mean to this person? So then one day something happened and I forgot my notebook or something like that. She goes, here you go, and gave me another one because I talked to her one day. So and I'm not better than nobody, right? So it's like, it's you never know what you can get out of these gems out there. And the craziest thing is, these individuals are probably the most untapped individuals out there that have these gems to give out because people probably don't give them the chances that they deserve.
And I really, yep, talk to people. That's what Flobo always says. So that's a good brother there. Shout out to Flobo and all of the stuff that he's doing.
Flobito.
Yes, absolutely. That's a pretty catchy theme song, isn't it?
I love that theme song. I don't know what it
Yes.
is. That's the only reason I'm friends with him still. Honestly, I probably would have removed him from my Instagram or whatever by now if he didn't have that awesome theme song. I'm waiting.
You guys, you
Flobo
have.
is typing.
I know, and it's funny. Like you guys are both comedians. You guys might
Yeah,
be, might be rocking a Stone Cold Steve Austin cut.
it's true.
And
Yeah,
yeah, it's just
he wears it better, but it's all good.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
ouch. Favorite wrestlers, either growing up, now, what have you. I don't like to do like top tens
Overall,
or
nah.
whatever, but like, who do you
I
like?
I like wrestlers that have put on an overall performance, do every aspect of it, right? So growing up, and this is another thing people are not going to agree with. I love Triple H. That was my favorite growing up. I liked every aspect of Triple H. I understand his backstage blah blah blah. If you understand wrestling and you understand business, you will kind of understand some of the things he said and why he did the things he did. I loved the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys were my guys growing up. Like they made me feel like I was cool, even though everyone made fun of me. But it was I love the Hardy Boys. And then if I had to say today, I was actually naming my top three favorite wrestlers right now, and that would have to be Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Charlotte Flair. Like that's where I'm at right now with those
Oh,
three. Yeah, and those three are to me are consistently good, consistently entertaining, consistently there, right, and consistently improving in my opinion as well.
I like it. That's I mean that's pretty judicious and but I mean was it just Austin and McMahon 8-year-old Humza was that or you mentioned X-Pac but any
Yeah,
others that you remember?
no, DX Kane was also one. Kane was is actually one of the most intriguing people I've ever seen in my life, and he was actually at LAX Fan Fest a couple of weeks ago, which we were there too, signing autographs and stuff. So it's cool to be. I watched you growing up. Now I'm at a fan fest where I get to have a booth, and people are coming up to us for autographs next to you, right? So Kane was another one, and I remember when I was 11, I asked my mom if I could be Kane for Halloween. We couldn't. There was no Kane outfits out there. There was never Kane outfits. My mom legit sat there for like 6 hours and sewed an outfit for me. That was the whole Kane getup. And I was the coolest kid on the block. So I loved Kane too. I love DX. Like all those guys were Edge and Christian were great. Gangrel, shout out to David by the way. Gangrel, he has a school now. He was with Knox Pro before. He has a school in I believe Fort Lauderdale, Florida,
Hmm.
that you could go to, which is he has a pretty nice system set up. He's hard though. If you're not tough, please don't go to David. No, Gangrel. Don't go to Gangrel.
Yeah, no, I've heard. But also, I mean, he grew up through that. I think he might have been one of the last kind of, what is it, Gulf Coast snake bits. Robert Fuller
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
talks about
yeah.
that. Yeah, and
I think he's a. Mm-hmm.
those
Go ahead. Go ahead.
guys, they stretch you the hell out.
Yeah, he's the type that like, all right, you guys are gonna learn to take bumps today, but not in the ring. Here's some cement. Go
Hmm.
ahead, right? And the thing was, when I first joined Knox Pro, the ring was there was no spring, so it was on the ground. It was flat, so that hurt. And I was taking bumps on it, and I would come home all beat up, and I was like, why the hell do I keep going back? And every time I would go back, I like make up an excuse why you don't want to do this today. Miro will show up, and he will just look, and I'm like, oh, I'm scared. Okay, I'm gonna get it. I'm sorry. Miro would not let you make no excuses whatsoever. And then he would start training, and then if he liked you, then he would ask you to come private sessions and stuff. And that's how I got to know Miro a little bit better. So I guess everyone to each their own, right? There's a way to look at this. Uh, at Knox Pro, even they do now where they're a little bit more lenient on wrestlers. They make it more inclusive and more like not everyone's trying to make it big. Some people are just enjoying it. So, but the downside to that is unless you grind in that system, you're not gonna make it to the top, which is where you want to be, which a lot of people want to be at, right?
Yeah.
So you got to really pick and choose. Do you want your feelings catered to, or do you want to be a wrestler? And if you make it as a wrestler and your feelings are not being catered to, it only gets you ready for when you're at the top and your feelings aren't being catered to, right? Because people are gonna shit on you. You just broke your neck to entertain them, and they're gonna still shit on you any chance they get. So it's wrestling is not for the weak at heart. I know a lot of us enjoy it, and I know a lot of us that have issues like deal with depression, anxiety, things like that. We gravitate towards wrestling, which is wonderful. Sometimes it's just good to watch it and don't be involved.
No, no, 100%. That's you might be speaking to me
Yeah,
directly. And Flovito, yeah, 100%.
that's my
Um,
song.
so best case scenario, right?
Hmm.
Let's say 2 years. Where is Hamza Mania running wild?
I Within 2 years, man, I just want to be involved somewhere in one of these main promotions. That'd be great. That'd be wonderful for me. But I was saying this to a friend of mine the other day. At this point, because I've been able to try so many different things and actually do a couple of different things that I've always wanted to do, I'm very satisfied. And I think James, JLJ Media, he asked me, how do you define success? And my definition of success is through my experiences, right? It's not about reaching the goal, it's more about being able to experience all these different things. And to pick me up from Pakistan and bring me to America, where the exact things are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And if I'm alive, I'm free, but I'm not pursuing my happiness, then what am I doing out here, right? And I like to look at myself as an actual American, for the simple fact that I'm an immigrant, right, which is what America is known for. Not only that, but that I come here and I adopt the ideologies of America, and I do it well. And then not only that, then I try to strive to take advantage of everything that was built around us in this country, and really use it to my advantage and live this life. So it's one of those things where, like, I'm very, very, very satisfied where I'm at. If it was all to stop today, great. But in 2 years' time, I can't even speak about stuff coming up, but I guarantee you guys are gonna see me somewhere, at least for 1 month.
I like it. I like it. And that's also kind of a nice tipping of the hat to follow your social medias. But we'll get to that. But before we do, there have been a lot of people, both professionally and personally, that have led you to where you are. So take as long as you like. Let's get shout outs out of the way.
Oh, shout outs. Okay, let's start. Stand up comedy. I'm gonna go with Kerry Odes. Kerry Odes was my stand up coach. He helped me come up with my first set, and then he put me at the Hollywood Improv and said, "Go out there, make a fool of yourself." I had a terrible experience. I feel like I had anxiety. I couldn't breathe. I watched the videotape back, and I fucking killed it. So Kerry Odes, stand up wise. As far as wrestling is concerned, both Rikishi and Reno Anoa'i, both of them are amazing, man. They've helped me grind in different areas. They gave me opportunities. They helped me get to places. They opened doors for me, and they've told me that's not a good door for you. Come back this way. So it's been like I've had a dad and an uncle. I feel like watching my back throughout the wrestling experience. And then when it comes to podcasting, man, everybody at AfterBuzz, specifically Flobo. I know he's in the chat right now. It's Flobo's been very helpful when it comes to there he goes, right? Flobo's been very helpful when it comes to learning how to structure a podcast, just different avenues to go, watching how he does things and kind of mimicking them has helped me a long way. So those guys are the main ones, and then to top the umbrella off right now, I want to give a big shout out to Bruce. Bruce is my wrestling partner. He's been on the journey with me since day one. He is killing it right now. Toa Leona. He is the Urban Empire champion for Nox Pro. He will be performing and defending his championship alongside me on 17th of October, this next Sunday coming up at Leonardo's Huntington Park. And if it wasn't for Bruce, man, I would not have been able to have all these different experiences that I've had.
Live for wrestling next Sunday.
Yeah, on the 17th. If you want to come by, come through.
That might happen.
Yeah, come through, man. We have, I know Devon Dudley's twin sons are coming. They're going to perform there. And then Vanessa Bourne, she's obviously NXT's there.
Yeah,
right?
Vanessa Craven, right? Isn't it?
I don't know what her stage name was, but
Yeah.
she's Danielle Camilla. You know, she's going to be there. Obviously, I'm going to be there. I'll be performing. We're having a Halloween meet and greet, which is going to be great. So we're going to put on shows. It's good. Their Halloween stuff is great because you got Michael Myers versus Chucky, like dumb stuff like that. It's just so much fun. So meet and greet and the Halloween shows from 3 to 5 p.m. And then from 5 to 8 is the actual live show. And tickets are on sale if you guys want. Anyone Humza Mania, Humza_Mania, the name's right here.
Okay.
And if you go on my link in there, you can purchase tickets to come through. Woods, if you come there, though, I'll sneak you in. Don't worry about that.
Hey, even if you do, you gotta pay the piper. And again, I don't want Reno and Rikishi breathing down my neck.
Giving me a stink face? Give me a stink face? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I might have seen a meme yesterday that was like, "Are these warm?"
I saw warm breads. Hey, I send stuff like that to Rikishi all the time. He cracks up. His favorite thing is when TMZ compared him to Lizzo, because Lizzo's now they're like, "Is this Lizzo?" Yo, it's so funny. But no, if anyone's watching and you guys come out, like, if you guys come to the show next Sunday, anyone watching this, I'll make sure I walk you over to Rikishi. You guys can say hi to him.
Whoa, that's I got goosebumps. Ooh, my goodness. And Flobo, you talk about goosebumps. Love you, bro. Love you. A lot of people are doing Flobo voice and not even know that the Flobo voice, and especially in this kind of Southern California scene, whether it be AfterBuzz or
Yeah.
guys like me that were kind of floating in the peripheral. Um, we're kind of offsets of Flobos,
Yeah.
in our own way. So again, thank you, Flobo boys. And Lobo Loco says sounds like a fucking blast.
Oh
And
yeah.
the Lizzo comparison, no, 100%. And you shouted it out, but you said it once before, but it bears repeating. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, all my social media handles are the same. It's Humza Mania, Humza HUMZA underscore Mania MANIA, and that's all social media handles. But Instagram's the only one I'm really active on. I don't really do Twitter. On YouTube, I have my own podcast, the Humza Mania podcast. Taking a little bit of a break, but it'll be back by the end of the month. But yeah, you guys can come chat, talk to me. Let's talk wrestling, ask questions. If you want to join Knox Pro, if you want to come out and see the school and even be there for a day, one day, just to check it out, let me know, man. Let's each one teach one, we say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of were taught by you because for those that might have trouble or what have you, the link tree for Humza Mania is right in the description of this very video. So there you
Ooh,
go.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, this is good brother shit. Brother me
Yeah.
softly. Like that's wait. Oh wait, you think I'm gonna
Brother,
fucking invite you on and not like all of the shit, that
yeah.
awesome,
I've
amazing
always,
things?
always appreciated. That's all.
Yeah.
No, never assume. Just always appreciate.
Yes, absolutely. And Local Ubo says, "Peace, you and farewell, my bros, good sirs. Thank you, good brother. And again, thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also have the social medias, the same thing, where dank memes absolutely happen 1,000 times a day, probably more than the podcast. So go ahead and check it out. Hamza, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
All day, all day. Yeah, I subscribe twice actually, if I could.
Dang right. So be like Hamza Mania and make it run wild. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. But if you don't believe me, you don't believe Hamza, and I don't know why you wouldn't, here's Pro Wrestler Zeta Zang to help convince you.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang.